Good morning. What's up? What's up? It's going to be awesome. It's going to be epic. You know why? Because we get to talk about being world class, right? And that's what it's all about, right? Taking it to the next level. I feel like I need some theme music, right? Isn't there like an 80s song, Taking It to the Limit or something? I'll have to sort of cue that up in the background. Always a pleasure. I'm coming to you from I know I don't give you a hint at all with the background, so it's not really fair to have you guess. But some cactuses in the background. We are in Phoenix, Arizona, or I think I'm Scottsdale. I'm not sure the difference between them. But in here doing some cyber work, having a great time. Gave a keynote in Denver yesterday. Flew in and out for the day. So having an amazing week. I hope you are having an amazing week. So let's go ahead and jump right into the party. And we have our friend Vic. My Mr. Buenos Dias, right? I count on that, my friend. If you ever miss a session and don't get my Buenos Dias, I feel like something's missing, right, in there. So great question. What are your thoughts on sales engineering in regards to earning potential? I'm a huge fan. If you enjoy it and you're good at it, and by the way, it's a skill that everyone should have. Sales is an amazing area to hone in your expertise on. Because guess what? Everything in life is sales. Right? I always joke with people where they come up to me and they're like, Eric, I'm not good at sales. I'm like, really? I just was at your house and none of your kids wanted to have that dinner that you made. And within 5 minutes, you convinced all of them that it's their favorite dinner. That's sales. If you're dating or you have a significant other, right, you're in sales. Somehow you convince them, right, to spend time with you and commit to a relationship with you. So everything in life is really sales. So the better you can get at it, the more valuable it's going to be in your career. Now, the only thing I would say with sales engineering is make sure it's commission-based. Make sure you're getting a piece of the action, because this is one of the problems that I find with engineers and world-class security people. They tend to make other people rich. Right? That's why I switched. I'm that rare breed of techie entrepreneur, because I realized in my career that people were hiring me and I was building out these great, amazing products and they were giving me a salary. It was a good salary. But they were making a ton of money because they were taking a piece of the action and I wasn't, right? So you want to make sure that if you're this sales engineer, that you're basically not just making the salesperson rich, right? You're getting a piece of the action and a piece of the puzzle. So yes, not bad to be in. You can make a ton of money as long as it's a commission-based position. And I just want to pivot off of what Vic says. Originally, when I saw his message, I thought he just said security engineer. But the thing you have to remember is if you're average, you're going to get average earning potential. If you're world class, you're going to get world class earning potential. So whatever it is you're doing, you want to carve out a niche and you want to become the best there is and be well known in that area. That's why I go in and I push the videos. Do the 2 videos a day. How you doing with that, by the way? Or posting content to social or this or that. Because if you're the best in the world, but nobody knows about you, you're not going to have max earning potential. So it's being the best and everybody knowing you're the best and everyone realizing the best. Now, yes, once you get known, referrals take over. But in the beginning, you need to be your own self-promoter. You need to go in and show that you're the best so people will call and use you for that expertise, right? One of my favorite stories, you all know I love my stories, is there was this manufacturing plant that had this old piece of machinery. And they didn't want to replace it, but it kept breaking down. And the company kept hiring these repair people to come in and spending a lot of money on going in to fix it. And they spent days and days and days, and none of them had the expertise. So the owner of the plant heard about this expert who was an expert in this technology. So he gave them a fixed price. He said 500K and I'll fix it. Now they spent a lot more than that on trying to get it addressed. So they said, great. He came in and within 10 minutes, he knew exactly what the problem was. And he turned a couple of screws, made a couple of adjustments, and boom, the machine worked perfectly for the next 9 months. Now, here's the irony of the story. He then submits his bill for 500K. And the owner was like, but you were only here for 15 minutes. Can you give me an itemized breakdown? He said, absolutely. Turning the screws, adjusting the equipment, making the modifications, $50,000. Knowing the exact modifications to make, $450,000. Right? It's that expertise that they're paying for. It doesn't matter how long you take. When you become world class, you don't charge by the hour, you fix price. Because no one would afford your hourly rate, but because you produce what other people can, what other people take months and years to do, you can do in minutes and hours. You go fixed price because they're getting the quality of the output. So let's go ahead and look at a few more questions. Sorry, I'm in the hotel and the lighting is not the best, so we'll have to get a little assistance this morning. As a vCISO, I'm under the infrastructure manager and CIO. I do not have dedicated security staff, but 6 IT personnel. They care only about availability. How can I earn their trust and get them to care? Can I be honest with you? Remember, I love and I care about you, and I'm going to give you the honest truth. You're not a vCISO. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. You have the title, which is great. It's really good that they gave you the title because you have the credentials and doing it. But with what you described, you're not a vCISO. You're basically a chief scientist or a high-end security engineer, because if you don't have any security staff and you're buried under IT, and they're really only concerned about availability and uptime, then you're really just focusing on doing the basic techs on security, but you're not really a CISO, which is focused on the strategic implementation of risk across the organization. So what you could try to do is put together some high-level risk assessment, but put together some high-level analysis of what are the critical assets, what are the critical threats, the critical vulnerabilities, do some of the basic road mapping of saying, these are the things we really need to fix, and these are the things we really want to address. But I'm trying to be honest with you, not discourage you in any way, shape, or form, but if you're buried under IT and the CIO and you don't have any security staff, right, it's going to be hard to be able to accomplish that. Now, to make sure, I always like having you walk away with value. To actually answer your question, how can you earn their trust and get them to care? Focus on uptime availability. If they're under IT and they're IT engineers and they're bonused and their boss is bonused on uptime availability, unless you can change your reporting structure, unless you can go in and change how they operate, which you're probably not going to, if you want to build their trust and get them to care, you have to focus on what they care about. The probability of you getting them to initially care about security is slim to none. Remember, the way you get other people to do what you want is to help them get what they want. So you build the trust by focusing on what's important to them. Show them you care about IT. Show them you care about uptime. Show them you care about availability. They'll trust you. They'll see that you care, and you build the rapport. Once the rapport is built and they're like, we can trust this person, they get what we're doing, then you can say, hey, why don't we try this, this, and this? And because they trust you, you'll slowly be able to migrate them over security. But you have to meet them where they're at. And right now, good or bad, that's uptime availability. You definitely need an Epix 80 theme opening. All right, Zach, we'll have to work on that. I'll have to figure that out with my team. How do you sell yourself to new clients when starting a vCISO business? A couple ways of doing that. One, offer, I don't say free, but offer a discounted service that comes to zero. So if you're brand new vCISO, You need references, you need referrals. That's really the name of the game. Walking into a brand new client that knows nothing about you, you've never worked in the field, you have no referrals and no experience in that area, and say, pay me money, it can be done, but it's a long, hard road. So I would find a couple of clients and go, listen, my normal cost for service in this area is whatever it is. You have me $2,500 a month, $3,000 a month. I'll be honest with you. I do have experience in this arena, but it's always internally. I want to start a vCISO business and I'm looking for a few reference clients. I was wondering if I discount down my service to zero and provide you three free months, would you serve as a reference? Now, it could be 1 month, it could be 2 months, right? Would you serve as a reference client for me in that area? And then once you have a few reference clients, then they'll refer you to others. You'll be able to say, hey, we've worked in this arena, we have experience, we have expertise, and be able to position yourself in that manner. So that's one way that you can go in and earn their trust. The other way is do a lot of marketing and advertising to them and say, not only are you focused on proactive and preventing security measures, which is how you like to work with your clients, and clients that work with you tend not to have as many breaches, but you do offer reactive services. You do offer incident response. So if they do have problems, they do have breaches, they do have compromises, you can respond within 4 hours. And just blanket that market. Because the one thing I will tell you is they're going to have an incident. They're going to have a compromise, right? They're going to get broken into. So if you are on their Rolodex and you are front and center and you keep sending them short, not annoying, but informative messages of your services and what you do, when they have an incident or when they have a breach, they're going to call you. They're going to go in and give you a call. The other thing is, remember, to start vCISO, you want to go in an industry where they don't have a CISO, they don't have security, and there's a huge need. So you want to make sure you pick your markets very, very carefully. And I would even pick 2 or 3 markets and test them out to see what's going on. But it's a lot of front and center and helping them initially. So when there's a breach, or get a few reference clients, and then you'll be off to the races pretty quick. Justin, is it better to be a generalist or develop a specialty? Is there a risk of getting pigeonholed into a niche area if you specialize? So depends on what your goal is. If you want to be able to be very employable and you just want to be able to get a good, solid salary, and there's nothing wrong with that, then you definitely want to go more the generalist route, because you'll always be able to get a job, right? You can do a lot of things, right? You can work the SOC, you can do this, you can do that, you can do a lot of those areas, and you'll always be employable. Specialist is if you want to go world-class. If you want to go world-class, then you become more of a specialist in a specific area, but you're right, it's going to be a little bit niched. But if you pick it correctly, who cares? I have a friend of mine who does vCISO work. His specialty is GDPR. He knows GDPR better than anyone else. He can recite GDPR. I think he actually goes to bed praying to the GDPR gods. It's scary, the level of detail. Like, you'll talk to him and you'll be like, hey, can you do this with GDPR? And he'll be like, well, section 3, and he'll recite it word for word. Specialty. It's a big enough specialty. He gets more work than he could ever handle or imagine. So when you say specialty, you want to make sure it's narrow, but not too narrow. Like, if you go in and you tell me that you are the top-notch expert on generating random prime keys for quantum cryptography on this specific computer, yeah, it's probably way too narrow specialty. Right? Good for getting a PhD, right? That's what dissertations are, where you go so deep and so narrow, you're the expert in that area for a short period of time. But that's not what we're talking about. So if you can stay at sort of a mid-level specialty, that's going to get you to that world-class status. Here's the other question. Why not both? Why can't you be a generalist with specialties? Can I go as deep as security engineers in certain topics? No. But when I get in front of a board or I do a keynote, I think I can cover a lot of topics, but I could talk about a lot of different areas. So from that area, I do have some generalist specialty, but I would say right now it's on implementing security at an executive level, and CISOs, creating world-class CISOs are really my specialty that I'm focused on. But the thing is, maybe instead of one or the other, why not end? Why not be a generalist with a specialty? This way you got the best of both worlds. You can step into any situation. I can step into any stage where we're talking about cybersecurity and be able to hold my ground, even though I do have unique specialties in certain areas. If the goal was to detect and prevent the exfiltration of something like social security numbers, but if the attacker changes the SSN pattern to something else and then exfiltrates it, in this case, how would you detect it? So the way you would detect it would be based on the patterns of network traffic, not on the data itself, which, by the way, when you're talking SSNs and things like that, it's much, much better. Here's why. Most data that's exfiltrated, I will tell you right now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it doesn't occur. I just haven't seen it. I have not seen where an attacker is going to break in, take a social security number, alter it on the computer itself to change the patterns, and then exfiltrate it. However, what I do see them do 99% of the time is encrypted and send out encrypted traffic, because most web traffic is encrypted. Most email is encrypted. Most file transfers are encrypted. So it's very, very common for there to be encrypted outbound traffic. So they're just going to encrypt it. So to me, yes, internally in certain areas, the idea of a DLP can have value where you're looking for patterns. But with real data exfiltration, most of the really good attackers are going to encrypt, and patterns aren't going to catch it. So to me, what you want to look at is what we call heat maps. Where is the traffic going? IP addresses are geolocational. Yes, you can spoof it with VPNs and stuff, but that's not that common still from attacker standpoint, because companies aren't typically looking at it. And look at frequency, time of day, and amount of data. So now if you're monitoring and you're saying, okay, we're sending X amount, 3 megs to all these different areas of the world, and every area that we're sending to, we have customers. And it's pretty much a consistent 3 meg from 6 in the morning till 10 at night, and then overnight, it's very, very small. That's sort of the pattern of activity. If now all of a sudden you see somebody going to a country that you don't do business with and or start sending 100 megs and do it for the next 5 days, those are all anomalies of behavior. And I don't care if you're encrypted or not, we're still going to catch it. So when you're really looking at or trying to catch the data exfiltration, look at the traffic patterns of size, frequency, where they're going, all those different components. And there's software out there that can do that. And that to me is going to be a much better way to detect exfiltration than looking at the patterns of the data. Can someone who has worked in an IT technical area during early years of career and now working in an InfoSec manager position since 10 plus years be a good CISO? No, they'll be an awesome CISO. That's like the perfect resume for a CISO, because you have the technical background. Let's face it, when we're talking technical, IT and security are pretty similar. You're talking, if you're doing technical work in IT or security, you know packets, you know protocols, you understand patches, you understand vulnerability, right? You understand the basic core areas of how it works and how it operates. And if you've been an InfoSec manager for the 10 plus years, You understand the high levels of risk and calculations and reducing risk and communicating to the executive. So yeah, that's the perfect ideal scenario where you have the technical background, you have the managerial skills, you have the strategic mindset, and then you naturally would migrate into a CISO position. I mean, you're pretty much exactly what organizations are looking for. And I just got back from an executive panel, and it's interesting. I'm getting new data. The new data is this, Eric, we're noticing the new CISOs that we're seeing out there and that we're looking to hire, they do speak more business. They do understand the business and they do better with translation. But they've never managed a team. So now we put them in where they're managing a team and they're awful managers because they don't know how to manage, right? And they do this dictatorial management and they get everyone frustrated and angry. And what ends up happening is we get this amazing CISO and our entire world-class security team quits because they won't work with the individual. So now it's funny, the shift, now going into fourth quarter 2022, the big shift that companies are looking for with CISOs is, have they managed? Do they know how to manage staff? So the fact that you have that managerial experience is going to be gold for you in that position. So yeah, you're perfect and exactly what they're looking for. Okay, Blazon's question, quite interesting. On average, how many hours a day is it okay to spend doing something unproductive? I guess the question is, what do you define as unproductive? Is just being honest with you, I don't know why it's the first thing that came to mind is using the bathroom unproductive, right? Is walking to a meeting unproductive, right? I guess, I guess it's really what are you defining as unproductive? And I guess the real question is, why can't it be zero? If you love what you do and you enjoy what you do, and everything is to create the best version of you, then really, is any of it unproductive? Is any of it really being an unproductive area? So you might say, but Eric, what if I love watching movies and once a week I go to the movies? Isn't that unproductive? No. If movies relax you and put you in a better state, so then you can think more clearly and be better aligned to accomplish the task for the next day, then that's not unproductive at all. That's actually accomplishing what you want. On the other hand, if you've just built up really bad habits of every evening watching TV for 2 hours and you don't really get a lot out of it, you end up being frustrated and annoyed when you're done because you're like, I just wasted my evening, or the next morning you're like, I can't believe that. Yeah, then that's unproductive. And I would say, why do that at all? That should really be zero. So I guess my thing is, the way I look at the world is, if you're running an optimized life, you should have minimal to no unproductive time because everything you're doing should be supporting the greater goal. And if you're just doing busy work because you don't know what to do, or in the evening you're just watching TV just to pass time, then I would reevaluate what is something that you enjoy, what is something that's fun that you can use to be able to replace that or do something different. So I guess in my answer, it might not be the answer you want, but I would say if we're really saying unproductive is activity that doesn't provide any value to you, your life, or your goals, that should be as close to zero as possible. Oh, Josh, you were there. Excellent. He says, greetings from Colorado. A great keynote yesterday. Awesome, awesome. Next time, and I know I was in and out and doing stuff, but next time, if you're at one of my events or keynotes, just come up and introduce yourself. Come up and say hi. I'd love to meet folks, and I'd love to spend a couple of minutes chatting with you. So excellent, excellent. I'm glad you were there. Thank you for the feedback. To prevent unauthorized disclosure, which tactic do you prefer? Not allowing unauthorized users to access a restricted page, or giving them access, but the page contains false information? I'm a big fan of, let's just stop them. Well, let's prevent them. So I would just go in and not allow them access, not allow them access at all. Now, I want to fully answer your question. There are some attackers that are persistent, right? That are targeting your organization and are persistent and are going to keep trying, are going to keep trying, and they're going to keep trying until they believe that they got in. So that's where your second strategy of providing the false information. So I guess I'm a big fan of why not end instead of or. So what we set up for our clients is the initial strategy, the phase one is don't allow access, least privilege, only give someone the least amount of access they need. Then phase two, more advanced, is if they do eventually get in or they're persistent, then set up a honeypot type environment where you're giving them access or decoys or deception. It's funny how we changed terminology. I was sitting on a panel and I just use the terms generically. And like, Eric, we don't do honeypots anymore. We now do decoy and deception. Like, same thing. Right? It's the same thing. It's like, why are we making our lives complicated, right? Because it's not cool anymore, right? Same exact thing. So yes, I would recommend instead of one or the other, do both. But start off with the least privilege, focus in on that, and then if you want to add in decoys and deceptions, you can. What is a realistic job description for a deputy CISO? It's really very similar to a CISO, except you're not the one making the final decisions, right? So they're very close in terms of a CISO and a deputy, where they're almost interreplaceable, right? Where one could do the role of the others. The only difference is, as deputy, somebody else can veto or somebody else can overrule. But they're really very, very similar. The way I see it, if it's done ideally, and the CISO might not like this, but it's really dual CISO, right? It's really two CISOs that one has veto power over the other, because you can't have 50-50, right? Somebody has to be able to make a decision. So it's really a 51-49% split on it, but you both are such in sync that either one of you can go to meetings. Either one of you can cover topics. Either one of you can handle what's happening. And then every morning and every evening, you meet to exchange information to make sure that you're in sync. So I would say, ideally, in a perfect world, a deputy is really very, very similar to the CISO. Man, you're calling me out, man. You guys are coming at me this morning. I love it. I love it. I love it. Do you believe you're world class and want to know about your journey? I'll be very careful here. People tell me that I'm world class. People bring me in and hire me because they believe that I'm world class. I do believe I have a ton of expertise and knowledge, but this is not, Eric, trying to be humble for you or anything else, but I still don't believe that I am there. I still have more work to do. I still have more reps to put in. I'm still going to show up on that front. So I'm always careful, because true world-class people are based on what others say, not what their beliefs are. True world-class people don't believe they're world-class, right? That they still believe they have work to do and there's still things to work on. So I believe I'm in a small group, and clients and people view me that way, and I can demand higher rates because of that, but I'm still working hard, right? I don't go and say I can goof off today. I can go in and not do anything because I'm there. Because the problem is, as soon as you stop working towards becoming world-class, you're no longer world-class, right? World-class is something that is a journey that you're continually on, as opposed to a destination where you get there and you say, okay, I achieved that point. And my journey is just do what you love. And I'll tell you, I don't have many regrets in my career. There's two that I don't want to call it a regret, but I wish I had a mulligan. I wish I could do it over. And both of those were decisions that I made based on money. where somebody threw a lot of money at me. And instead of listening to my heart and doing what I really, really love, I took the money. And like I said, I ended up giving them a lot of intellectual property and making them very, very rich instead of going in and focusing on building it myself and building wealth for me and my company. So I would just say it's the money's important, but don't make the decisions based on money. Make the decisions based on your journey, your purpose, and what you enjoy doing. What do you really, really enjoy? I know people throw it out there, but it really is a good question. And the question is, if you inherited money, if all of a sudden some relative that you didn't know passed away and gave you X amount of money, so for the next 5 years, you did not have to work. You basically have enough money to cover yourself for the next 5 years to maintain the current lifestyle that you have. What would you do? Now, depending on who you are, some people are like, oh, I would play golf. I play golf. I'd go on vacation. Let me help you out here. That's going to burn out really quickly. Unless you love golf and you want to be a professional golfer, which then maybe you're in the wrong career field. But I'll tell you, that idea that you're just going to go and have fun comes to an end very, very quickly. And then you get to the point of, okay, I'm bored out of my mind. What do I really love? If you don't have to earn a paycheck, what is it that you would do? Because here's the irony. If you don't have to earn a paycheck and you make a decision based on what you really love to do, you're going to earn a bigger paycheck than if you focused on the paycheck. Just think about that. I know it seems circular, but it really is spot on. The reason why people are limited in their earning potential is because they're focused on their earning potential. People that have unlimited earning potential are focused on their skill, their purpose, and the unique differentiators, and they're doing what they love. Because if you do what you love, you differentiate and you become world class, and then your earning potential is essentially infinite. So I would really just focus on what is it that you love to do? What is it that you enjoy? And just take that as your journey and see where it leads you. Okay, so Cyberman says only 20 people are watching this live session. This is what's wrong with our industry. Thank you, man. I was feeling really good this morning, and now you're telling me there's only 20? No, but it doesn't matter, because you know why? The 20 that are here are the world class, right? It's the best 20, right? It's a quality, not a quantity issue that's there. But I do want to use this as a point. A lot of us, when we get started in the industry, we give up too soon. We give up too soon. I just started doing these lives. I think I've been doing Life of a CISO podcast for a year or so, but the live events, I think we're only going on a few months here. And here's the problem. Everyone goes in and they'll look at a Joe Rogan or some of those other folks out there that when they do lives, they have 20,000 or 30. I'm guessing they have a ton of people and they have huge listener base and this and that. And they start off and they're like, well, I've been doing it for 2 months and I only have 20 people. I'm going to quit. Let me ask you a question. I don't know this for a fact, but I've looked at other cases. My bet is when Joe Rogan first started and nobody knew who Joe Rogan was, before he had the deals on satellite radio and everything else, when he started his first podcast, my guess is in the first month or two, he probably had 20 people too. So the trick is you got to recognize that all the people you see out there that have achieved a level of greatness, it's because they put in the reps. So if you want to start a podcast or you want to start your videos and you're doing it for several months and you only get 5 or 10 or 15 people, don't give up. Because I'm going to keep doing this. And I will tell you, in 6, 9, 12, 24 months, I don't know what the time period is, we're going to put a lot more zeros on that. Right? We're going to keep doing it. The word's going to get out and we're going to put a lot more zeros on it. So don't let initial numbers discourage you in the beginning. Focus on the journey and the numbers will eventually come. When it comes to SaaS applications and API security, What are the areas to focus on? Very similar to security. What are the vulnerabilities? What are the exposure points? What are the areas where an attacker can get in? And it's usually input output, right? Where are the areas that you're accepting input and the apps or the APIs? Authentication, passing information details. Those are all areas for exploitation. Right? Those are all areas for people to do data-driven attacks. So at the end of the day, if somebody is going to externally break into an app or an API, whatever it is, there has to be entry points or input. Right? On a server, it's a port. On an app, it's a user ID and password. Right? On an API, it could be data that's being passed, but it's essentially wherever somebody can pass data or information that then gets processed by the system. That's an area where they could potentially exploit or take advantage of it. Are these skills for a CISO position? Business process, IS governance, IS risk management and compliance, privacy, legal and regulation, program development and management. No. Those to me are more IT level skills. If I reviewed your resume and you had a section that said technical skills or skills, and you had those things listed, I would tell you to remove it because those are not strategy based, right? That those are more technical based. Now, CISO skills are briefing executive board, building out strategies, increasing revenue for the organization, allowing systems to be more functionally rich, right? It's high level strategy, oversight, interface. Now, could some of those things fit into that? Yes, right? But these are more the technical mechanics that would fit into the higher level components. So I personally wouldn't put those in because those are a level lower than what your CISO typically focuses on. The CISO is going to be much more the strategic, analytical, and interface. Yeah, and then you went on to incident management. Yeah, you started off, I'll be honest with you, where I had to think because business process, okay, that's sort of a little borderline. But then as you started getting into privacy, program development, incident response, security architecture, this is security engineer, security engineer, security engineer. And that's how I'll tell you, I'll give you a freebie here because I do a lot of this for my paid clients. If you have a CV and you're applying to CISO jobs and you're not getting responses, nobody's calling you back for an interview, it's because you have technical language on there and you're confusing them. They're looking at this saying, you're applying for a CISO position, but your CV is screaming world-class security engineer. If you have things like incident management and security architecture on your CV, you're going to get disqualified because you're screaming security engineer, not chief information security officer. So Blazin was the one that talked about the unproductive time. So he followed up, true laugh out loud, because I'm so glad because I always want to be true and authentic and honest. But because we're not face to face, I never, ever want to offend or get somebody upset. So I'm always careful on that front. So I appreciate, Blazin, you have an open mind and smiling and giving me a laugh out loud on that. So that's awesome. He said, true LO, more like TV, video games. I'm thinking of making it 0%. My personality is if I'm studying cyber all day, I won't enjoy games, movies. So I end up doing only watching and gaming, no cyber. So Blazin, just clarifying here. If you enjoy it, it's not unproductive. If you enjoy it and you use it as a break, it's not unproductive. But here's what you want to do. Schedule and control it. Because I have folks that say, Eric, I've had a busy day. I'm stressed out. I do like to unwind. I do like to go in and just watch some funny videos or play a little video game. And then I'm going to read and do some other things. And what happens is they plan on doing it for 30 and it ends up being 3 hours. So if that truly does relax you, then schedule for 30 minutes and be done. But on the other hand, is there something else like going for a walk outside or reading a book or something else that can satisfy it, that can add a little more to your quality of life? So once again, I'm not here to judge in any way, shape, or form, just giving you sort of a little perspective on that. Do you believe in security through obscurity, and why the US government embraces it, but the others are not, specifically when we talked about cryptography? So it's a weird term. Do I believe in security through obscurity, the actual definition, which means you have vulnerabilities, you have exposures, but if nobody knows about them, you're secure? No. I personally don't believe security through obscurity, because there's no such thing as a secret, right? It will eventually become out. On the other hand, when the government talks about it, what they're really talking about more is there's vulnerabilities in a system that we have to accept. We have to accept them. We can't fix them because of cost, time, money, and your effort. So let's reduce or minimize the number of people that know about them. That's a little different, right? That's a little different as long as you're accepting the risk. But no, this idea that we have vulnerabilities, but because nobody knows about it, the risk is low, is BS in my opinion, because they're going to be found out, they're going to be exploited, they're going to be broken into. So I don't know. On the other hand, especially in this day and age, anything that starts off with why does the government do certain things, I'm out, right? I have no idea why the government, I just sit there and I don't really watch the news, but I do because I have to stay aware of cyber breaches and cyber attacks, because I do a lot with the news channels on that front. But no, there's things the government's doing today that I'm just like, huh? And it has nothing to do with politics. Both sides are doing things where I'm just like, huh? So I'm just going to pass if you're asking me why the government does what the government does. Excellent. So it looks like the rest are such great knowledge. Like just follow up and feedback on that front. So actually, this is awesome. It looks like we got to all the questions today. If I did miss one, I apologize. Join me next week. And we're right at about our 45-minute mark. This is, I'm not kidding you. This is my mojo, right? This is some of my favorite times. Interacting with you on live and when I'm on stage is sort of where I get my energy. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for giving me an energy exchange. I hope you got energy. I got energy out of it. That's the cool thing. When you're dealing with positive energy and you put it together, it increases. The only time it's draining is with negative energy. So if you're ever around somebody and you walk away tired or exhausted, you might want to minimize your time with them, because that's a negative energy they're draining from you. But folks that you hang out with and you walk away more excited and more energized, those are the folks you want to hang out with. And guess what? It might only be 20, but I'll hang out with all of you any day of the week. So let's get together next Thursday. Let's try to make that 30. So if you could pass on the word to anybody you know, if you're enjoying these sessions. Otherwise, have an amazing week. And I'll see you all next Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you so much, and thank you for being awesome.